Hey you, come here. Hey, you want to see something real cool? If you look in this bush, you might be able to see a spider eat a bug. Ooh, I know, it's gruesome, but that's the way the world works. Nature is a harsh mistress. In the wild, it's eat or be eaten. So let's take a look. Ooh, looks like the spider caught himself a fly. Oh my gosh! Help me! Help me! Jeez! Luckily we showed up just in time, or else poor Baxter here would have been turned into spider poop. Hi, I'm Gary from Raz Rentals, and today I'm going to talk about the new Baxter Stockman figure from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ultimates line from Super7. Seriously, could that have a longer title? Super7 put Baxter Stockman up for pre-order all the way back in October of 2019, and we just got him last month, a whole 10 months later. In many ways, I was more excited about Baxter Stockman than I was the actual Raphael figure in this line, because when it comes to the Ninja Turtles, I love the Turtles, but I love the gross mutant rogues gallery they have. You know, they have plenty of cool, monstrous, disgusting looking enemies. Just like Raphael, when Baxter came in the mail, he came in this amazing Ultimates packaging. Now, what makes this packaging so cool is that each comes with a slipcover that's personalized to the character. And I especially like how he's got these little mousers on the sides. That's a nice attention to detail. It's got a very nice deep purple color. And when you open it up, you have this really nice window. Now what I like about this too is that the not just the outer color, the purple is different. The actual color of the walls here, the brick, is this nice dark blue color. When I first opened up Baxter Stockman, and he was the first one I opened up because, like I said, he was the one I was pretty much most excited about. I was amazed at how giant he was. As soon as I pulled him out, you could see that like his arms stretched from side to side, and his head reached all the way to the top, and his feet reached all the way to the bottom. It was just quite a shock. I wasn't expecting him to be so big. On the back, you have this really nice biography for Baxter. It pretty much explains his origins. In the cartoon, Baxter was left in the Dimension X in the Technodrome when Shredder came back to Earth, and Krang figured that, thought he was useless, so he was going to kill him, and he threw him in the disintegrator unit. Only when he got thrown in there, the disintegrator unit malfunctioned when a fly flew in there at the same time, and it just mutated Baxter into a fly. But in the cartoon, Baxter to me always looked a little dorky. He didn't really look that powerful. He's just very wimpy, and the Turtles could push him around, and Shredder pushed him around. But this fly looks like he could mess you up really good, man.
Hello, Shredder. I haven't seen you since you left me to die in Dimension X, Shredder. I think you'll find that was quite a mistake, Shredder. Shredder, have you ever heard of insect politics? Neither have I, Shredder. Insects don't have politics. They're very brutal. No compassion. No compromise. We can't trust the insects. Be afraid, Shredder. Be very afraid.
Baxter is the first in hopefully a long line of gross, super detailed mutant monsters. They say a hero is only as good as his villain, and luckily, or unluckily for Raph, Baxter is a formidable foe. I've always been a huge fan of Baxter Stockman. When I was a kid, I got my original Baxter when I was in the hospital. I had surgery done, and I was waiting in my room, recuperating, And my grandmother came and she brought me a present. And what was that present? Why, it was the 1989 Baxter Stockman. And, you know, he was amazing. I remember just looking at him and thinking, like, this is one of the coolest toys I've ever seen. So I took him home and played him to death. I eventually broke his arm, I broke his head off. I lost his wings, and I'm sure he's probably still in my backyard, buried deep under the dirt and sand. I played pretty rough with my toys. Baxter first appeared in TMNT Volume 1, Issue 2. This comic book also introduced the Mousers to the Turtles universe. And in the storyline, Baxter creates, well, he says that he creates the Mousers in order to control the rodent population of New York City, but really he has other sinister intentions. Essentially, he created them so that he could rob banks and knock buildings down, and he essentially becomes a terrorist and holds the city at ransom. He's a way more capable villain. In the cartoon, he never could accomplish anything. I mean, he makes the Mousers and then sort of becomes the lackey and pawn of Shredder before becoming the Fly creature. And unknown to me, and pretty much everybody who watched the original cartoon and played with the original toy, Baxter Stockman in the Mirage comic books was black. So they changed him in the cartoon and made him into this stereotypical white, mad scientist kind of guy who, if anything, is more of a ripoff of maybe Doc Brown from Back to the Future. This amazing Baxter Stockman figure, though, is based off of the original Baxter Stockman toy. So let's talk about them. Now, if you look at the heads, they did a pretty good job of copying the overall look. There's these little like dots there on his cheek. They also put here. Like the neck is very similar. The only thing that this, like the hair color, the color of it looks pretty good, except this is a lot darker, you know, and I don't think that this was like darker way back when and faded. I just think this is a lot darker. I always kind of remember him looking like this. The hair color is pretty similar. I like that the hair on him is rubber. And the paint on this guy looks really good. I haven't noticed any kind of splotches or anything out of place. He looks good. The only thing that is kind of like a minor nitpick is that sometimes this new guy, he looks too smooth to me. And I don't know like how they're making these sculpts. I don't know if they're making them like digitally or if they're actually sculpting them. But like there's just like little tiny random details in this. Like some of the things look more organic, where this just looks kind of safe and uniform. I still like it a lot, but it just kind of has that, there's just like an overall smoothness to it. And like I said, I do appreciate these little dots here that are on both heads. If you get into his chest, it's still sort of the same nitpick, where I kind of feel like this one is just a little bit more crazy, you know? But I would say this, that this jacket looks more like clothing. This doesn't really look like clothing that much. This looks like it actually lays on his body in a natural way. I love the syringe here. That's great. The bow tie is the same. I love these green veins on the purple body here. This jacket too is made out of rubber, so it's bendy, so you can move them around and whatnot. A lot less creases on the arms, but like I said, it looks, you know, it actually looks more like clothing, like it's actually on him. And like this is something that I even really remember noticing when I was a kid. You have this wristwatch here. It's unpainted, like a lot of Ninja Turtle stuff. And on here you have it painted, and it looks really good. I think one of the most interesting things, too, that I never really thought about, I just always thought it was like a ring on his finger. But I never really thought about this. Baxter Stockman's married. He's got a wife somewhere. Same deal with the this arm. They did a really good job with the legs. They copied almost the exact shapes, except added to them. In this one, I feel like the veins are just kind of painted on randomly, especially like even like the foot here. I think it looks kind of like, you know, they just kind of put a couple lines there. With this guy, he actually has sculpted veins. And they look very nice. I like his little tail. If you look though, this tail has creases at the top of it, and this one doesn't. It's just all smooth. I think that like a very important thing about the old Ninja Turtle toys too is that you didn't have a lot of symmetry on the figures. Each figure had a different thing going on, sometimes both sides of them. So like, you know, it's just a small detail, but you like him having it ripped up here in the thigh, and then the pants coming all the way down and being ripped where like the calf would be. You know, it's not the same on both sides. It makes it a lot more interesting, a lot more memorable. The only big difference really with the jacket is that he has these little gray spots between his armpit, where this one doesn't have that at all. Interesting enough, they both have holes in the bottoms of their feet, and Raphael didn't have any holes. Now, if you look at the back here, like I said with the front, the way that this is ripped here is not necessarily a natural. Like, it doesn't look very natural. Like your clothes would not, you know, be ripped open like this and then go up and not be connected here. So here, it actually looks like it would look if your clothes were ripped. And you know, I like these creases on the original one. You don't have that here. This is definitely a lot softer, but in general, I like the look of this a lot. I like how you can see more of his back here, and I like the extra details of the veins. You know, you have like these spots in his arm, in his extra arms, where like here you kind of had it a little bit. It's like almost like a muscle kind of look, where here they kind of really got into it so that you have like an outer cover, and then in the middle you have these little spots of muscle sticking out. I love these added spikes. These are very nice detail. The arms are very similar, sort of. I can't tell if these hands on mine too. I don't know if somebody ripped the hands off and put them backwards, because if you look at it like this, if that was his thumb, it'd be kind of like this. But, you know, it's like this angle. If you look at the angle of these hands, the thumbs are in the right spot. They're bent the right direction. Like I said, these are very simple, and you know, there's just a lot of extra detail. You can see all these muscles in here. Now, I actually went through before the review, and I was looking at the wings, and what's kind of cool is that all these segments here on this guy's wing, they're all present here. This wing is cut up into like the exact same segments that this wing is. So they put a lot of effort into that, I gotta say. The colors don't necessarily line up in some spots, but they mostly do. The original Baxter has the very simple articulation that all of the original Turtle toys had way back in the late 80s, early 1990s. So his head can rotate. His shoulders rotate. He has rotation in his forearms, but they're almost like wrist joints. And he has ball joints in his hips. Luckily for Baxter, he gets a couple extra points of articulation. His extra arms here can rotate this way. And his wings move. So you can either make them like that, or maybe like that. If you're really mean, you can also remove his wings.
I told you, dude. I told you. I said if you didn't stop flying around my head during this barbecue, my brother here was going to mess you up.
When it comes to articulation, Baxter has some pros and cons. His head rotates really nice. I feel like that there could be a hinge inside of there, but whenever I try to bend his head down, it doesn't go far. It just kind of shoots right back up here. So I haven't really pushed it too hard because I don't want to break it or, you know, make the joint too loose and then his head will be like flopping. But like I said, I don't really know. I haven't seen anybody really get a lot of good movability with that, to look up and look down. His shoulders are pretty good. They got a hinge. I like how close they can get to the body when you put it down. It goes up to about there. He's got a swivel and a hinge in his elbow. They're very good. In his wrist, he just has a swivel. Sometimes, like, the joints stay where you want them to stay, but if you apply pressure, sometimes they move very quickly. But like I said, if you're just posing him, his joints usually stay in place. And his wrist, you know, some people have very loose wrists, and some people, they're not that bad. Mine aren't that bad. These hinges like that are loose, but they're not. They usually stay in place if you have the weapon in his hands. The handle stay in place. It's just when you touch it, it moves really quickly. He doesn't have any upper body articulation, but his lower torso here, that can rotate. I think he has ball joints in his legs, and they work really well. His knees have a swivel and a hinge, and his ankles just have a swivel and a hinge. Now, I feel like they kind of dropped the ball a little bit on this, because I feel like he should have ankle rockers. With an awesome figure like this, you want him to get into dynamic poses, but they're very limited because he doesn't have ankle rockers, so he can't like really squat far down, because, you know, his feet just angle up. Like, if you could, even though he has these kind of legs that, you know, bend in like this, like a cat or whatever, you might want to extend one of his legs so that he's like going at somebody. But even, like, he stays up okay, but it still would be nice if this leg could this foot could become flat. When it comes to these extra hands and wings, the articulation is pretty good. Each one of them has pretty much the same exact setup. These are all swivels. They have the hinge. So you can do a lot of nice things with these hands. You could pick up your enemies. You could extend them like he's trying to grab something. You could scratch his head with it. I really wish that maybe these wings were on ball hinges. Like right now, they swivel and they have the hinge. But I feel like it'd be nicer if they could actually, like, because it limits to how his wings can. Because if you put them in like this, they can't go out. They only go out when they're like flat. Can maybe have them like that. It would have just been nice to have the option to go a little further. When it comes to accessories, Baxter here has some pretty cool things. First, he has his own weapons rack for his weapons. And this is interesting because the original Baxter Stockman did not have a weapons rack. They've been making these new personalized weapons racks for characters who aren't the Turtles and who appeared later on in the toy line. So these are all unpainted, and I will probably leave these on here. The first weapon you have is pretty much the only weapon the original Baxter Stockman had. It is the anti-turtle Swatter. Now, if you look at these, they're almost the exact same size. So even though Baxter has grown in size, these weapons have not. They're almost exact. There's only some things on here where I feel like they played it a little, kind of like the clothing. It's a little bit smoother and more sleeker in style. Like here, there's a lot of details that jut out. They stick out a lot more and make it a little bit more dynamic. Where this, it feels a little flatter. Now, the biggest problem with this is that this piece here does not fit over Baxter's arm. And if you look at it, it's nowhere near even how wide the original one was. So you would like put this, you know, on Baxter's arm and, you know, you put that in his hand and bada bing, bada boom. He's got this resting on his arm. Take a look at that. But on this Baxter, you can't accomplish that without it looking a little strange. So you have this one hand, and try to put that in there. And that's as good as you're going to get it. You know, it doesn't go over the arm. It just kind of sits like that. So this thing had to be way bigger. They should have made this a lot bigger. There is another hand that's made specific to hold this weapon, I think. Because you can't hold the ray gun with this hand, but if you put this hand, that's as far down as you could pretty much push that. And if you put that in there, there is no way that you're going to be able to add this on here. Unless maybe he's holding it like this. But this looks more like one of those old-timey cameras. Oh my gosh. See, you can't even get it standing there. Whatever. So that's as good as you're going to get that. Baxter also comes with a ray gun. And this is cool because the original Baxter had no ray gun. He only came with that Swatter. And I thought maybe that this was supposed to be painted here, but that was just something I made up in my head because every picture I've looked up, it's just been one solid gray piece. I like the design of this thing, and I do like that this looks like a dial. It kind of reminds me of like some kind of like anti-mutagen gun that Baxter would shoot at the turtles to turn them back into 4 baby turtles. I've become free. I've been released, and you can't stand it. You'll do everything to bring me down. Dude, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm just gonna beat the snot out of you. Bzzz. That'll show that stupid turtle. Baxter also comes with 4 sets of hands. This first set of hands are fists. The second set of hands Baxter comes with can only be used to hold the Swatter. You can't hold the gun with them. I gotta say too, I always love this little squish turtle on here. Third Baxter comes with a set of hands that you can hold the Swatter with them, but you're most likely just going to put the ray gun in them. They fit this pretty nicely. Or if you want to, you can also make it look like he's rolling dice. Come on, 7. Come on, 7. Snake Eyes.
Oh no, my wife is gonna leave me. How am I gonna feed my 150 babies?
Finally, you have these extended hands, and they look great, you know. You can use them to accentuate your poses. You can make it look like Baxter's intimidating and scary. The final accessory, he comes with this mouser. Now this mouser, smaller and definitely a lot smoother and sleeker looking than the old one. This original one has some stickers all over it, and it has big feet so he could walk. This one doesn't work anymore, this action feature. He's supposed to be able to walk and open up his mouth, but you know, he doesn't work at all. Luckily, this guy does not have that. And, you know, the sticker looks a lot better on this guy. I like the overall shape a lot better. The paint looks really nice. I like the detail inside the mouth. You get that little hole in the back, and you got these little ridges on the top and bottom. The only thing I gotta say is the claws here are very sharp. Like, you could stab somebody with these. Ow. Now, I hope Super7 in the future releases a multi-pack of these guys. Because right now you only get one mouser with Baxter. So nobody was going to be buying, like, you know, 10 Baxter Stockman so they can have 10 different mousers. They should put out like a 5-pack of these guys. Super7, think about it. I think the biggest pro that the mouser has is it can help Baxter hang up the Christmas lights. Here, Baxter, I'm gonna go turn the lights on. Bzz, bzz, oh no, the mouser's chewing through the cord. I better unplug it. Bzz, bzz. Holy crap, look what happened. It looks as though the electricity from the blue lights caused some kind of reaction in Baxter's body. If you look at this all new and all menacing Baxter Stockman, you'll notice he appears pretty much the same as he used to, only now he's got a nice new color scheme. Luckily though, I knocked over a 7-Eleven earlier in the year, so I have a duplicate. So if you look at these figures, they look almost exactly the same. I did notice that, I don't know if you could pick it up on camera, but his jacket actually is a little tighter than this one is. It's a little thinner. I love the new blue in the hair. I love the red eyes. If you look at the arms, you'll notice that the original just has all purple, but on this new glow-in-the-dark figure, the spikes here are painted silver. He's got his fingernails are painted. Kind of reminds me of the Burbs. Whenever I can't remember his name. The neighbor gets electrocuted, and then his fingernails are all black. Bah. If you look at the two mousers, they're pretty similar. You know, it's the exact same sculpt, but you got silver paint here, got this light blue. I like the color on top of here. And I'd like to know if it would actually like make this one stand out a little more if he did have a different color on top. I mean, I don't really care because I'm happy. like the new painted details on the Zapper here. So you got this nice red on the handle. You have a little bit of paint here too. And with the ray gun actually has a painted dial here. So that's nice. I really like this guy a lot because he reminds me of the McFarlane toys in the 90s when you would have like 100 different color variants of every character. I always wanted to get the Necroplasm Spawn. He was a cool see-through green color and he had a purple cape. So this guy takes me back. If you missed the initial pre-order of Wave 1 and couldn't order it from Big Bad Toy Store or Entertainment Earth or any other third-party store, don't fret. Brian from Super7 announced recently that they're looking into re-releasing Wave 1 to help out everybody who missed out on the original release. So don't pay eBay prices. Just wait a little bit. He said that they'll change something small, maybe like an accessory or something like that, maybe make it a different color so that it's different enough that the people who originally jumped on board don't feel like slighted or anything like that, that they're reproducing these again. So when I first got this Baxter Stockman, I was amazed at the detail and the scale of the guy. For me, Baxter Stockman and General Trag, they're really the beginning of Playmates' dive into like super gross villains. They opened up the door for the amazing 1990 and 1991 figures. So at this moment in time, I'm really happy with this guy, and I can't wait to see Muckman, Wingnut, Scumbug, Worm, all those other guys that, like, you know, they were gross, but they were just so cool looking. I also can't wait to see characters like Rocksteady and Bebop, because if this guy is this big, I can only imagine how big Bebop and Rocksteady will be. I mean, these guys cost a lot of money, so the larger figures definitely make this line feel worth it. Well, that's all I got to say about this guy. So let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know if there was anything that you wanted me to talk about that I missed. And next episode, I'll be reviewing Splinter.